Hello again, it's time for another story. So get all cozy and comfy and let's find out what happens next. Today's story is called A Surprise for Mary. That busy angel Gabriel went to work again. 6 months after Elizabeth discovered that she would have a child, he visited Elizabeth's cousin Mary. Mary and Elizabeth were quite different. Elizabeth lived in the south near the big city of Jerusalem, but Mary lived further north in a little town called Nazareth. Elizabeth was old, but Mary was young, and Elizabeth had been married for many years, but Mary had never been married at all. She was engaged, however, to a carpenter named Joseph. Mary was in her house one day, dreaming of the wedding and the life that she and Joseph would share together. And that's when Gabriel appeared to her, bright and shiny, glowing in gold, just as it appeared to old Zechariah. "Hello, Mary," Gabriel said. "God is with you and wants to do something very special for you." Mary didn't know what to think. She had never seen an angel before. And as for God wanting to do something special for her, well, she couldn't imagine what that might be. There they are. She was too scared to ask, and Gabriel could see the worry in her eyes. "There's no need to be afraid," he told her. "God has chosen you for something wonderful. He wants you to be the mother of a little baby. A baby called Jesus." Mary looked more worried than ever, and puzzled too. "I don't understand," she said. "How can I have a baby when I don't yet have a husband?" Gabriel smiled. It was a warm smile, and a mysterious smile too. "God's own spirit will visit you," he said, "like a welcome shadow on a warm summer's day. He will cover you and wrap himself around you, and the child who will spring to life in you will be God's child too." Mary was shaking now. Her eyes were wide open, amazed. Her mouth dropped open too. She had never heard anything like this before. "I know this is hard to believe," Gabriel went on, "but God can do the most amazing things." "Why, your own cousin Elizabeth." "That's right, Elizabeth, who could never have a child before, is expecting a baby too." "Impossible." "Not for God." "So what do you say, Mary? Will you be the mother of God's son?" Mary shut her eyes. She shut her mouth too. She looked just as if she was praying. "Well, what will Joseph think," she wondered, "when he hears about the child? He is bound to think the worst, and my parents too. Their plans, all their plans will be ruined. And yet God has a plan as well, and he has chosen me of all people, to be a part of that plan. What can I do but say yes?" And so Mary nodded, eyes still shut, head bowed in prayer. She nodded. "I will do it," she said. "I will be the mother of God's son." And when she opened her eyes, the angel was gone. Mary had to tell someone. The news that the angel Gabriel had given her was so amazing that it seemed almost too good to be true. So Mary hurried to visit the one person in the world she thought would understand, her cousin Elizabeth. Elizabeth was expecting a child of her own, remember? It was the son that Gabriel, that busy angel, had promised to her, and her husband Zechariah. There they are. Mary said hello to her cousin, but instead of saying hello back, Elizabeth said, "Surprise, oh, it's my baby," she chuckled. "When you said hello, he jumped for joy inside me. He knows, don't you see, that the baby who's growing inside you is God's own son." Elizabeth knew. She already knew, even before Mary could tell her. Now Mary was more amazed than ever. "God has done something wonderful for you," said Elizabeth to Mary, "and you have to trust that it will all come true, just as the angel told you." Mary nodded. "I do. I really do." And then she paused, and then she thought. And then she spoke again, as if she was making up a poem or singing her own special song. "God has been so good to me, and I simply don't deserve it. I'm nothing, a nobody, yet God has chosen me to be the mother of his son. And one day, I'm sure of this, everyone will know my name and be able to tell my story. That's how God works, isn't it? He knocks down the mighty and proud and lifts up those who are small and weak. He sends the rich away hungry, and he feeds the hungry until they're full. He has watched over his people Israel from the time of our father Abraham, and now, praise God, he's watching over me." When she had finished, Mary hugged her cousin Elizabeth. Then she stayed with her for 3 months more, until Elizabeth's baby, John, was born, and then returned to her home in Nazareth. I wonder, just like Mary, what things that we can be grateful for today. What can we be thankful for? Even though we might be a bit worried about what's happening or not understanding things, just like Mary did all those years ago, there are things that we can still be thankful for. So why don't you share that with somebody today, something that you are thankful for? See you next time. Bye.